All right, let's talk about something fascinating. The idea that the very design of our streets, our parks, even our own neighborhoods can either open the door to danger or create this powerful, invisible shield of safety. So, how does that work? Let's get into it.
I mean, think about it for a second. Have you ever been walking somewhere, maybe late at night, and just every instinct you have is screaming at you to be on high alert? That feeling, that pit in your stomach, it's not just in your head. It's almost always a direct response to the environment around you, kind of like what we're looking at right here.
So, what is it about some places that just sets off all our internal alarm bells? Well, it's not random. Turns out it's usually a combination of very specific design flaws that basically create vulnerability. So let's break down exactly what makes this kind of space feel so sketchy. First, you've got multiple, confusing paths. There's no clear direction. Then you've got this sense of open, uncontrolled access. Like anyone can come and go from anywhere. You add in poor visibility, all those dark, hidden spots, and it all leads to this feeling of low control. For a potential criminal, what does that scream? Easy opportunity.
But that leads to a really powerful question, right? If bad design can literally create fear and opportunity for crime, could good design do the opposite? Could it actually design those feelings away? And the answer is a huge, resounding yes.
And there's actually a name for this whole field. It's called Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, or CPTED for short. It's basically a strategy that uses stuff like architecture, landscaping, and city planning to make crime harder, riskier, and just less appealing for anyone thinking about it. And get this, it's not about building fortresses, it's about being clever.
Okay, so let's dig into the first and maybe the most fundamental principle here, and that is controlling the flow, how people move through a space. Because if you can guide movement, you can start to systematically cut off the opportunities for crime.
And wow, this comparison just illustrates it perfectly, doesn't it? I mean, look at the left. That's uncontrolled movement. It's a total mess, a chaotic web of paths where anyone can go anywhere. It creates confusion, unpredictability. But then look at the right. Controlled movement. It's clean. It's intuitive. It guides people along one clear route. There's zero question about where you're supposed to go.
So how do you actually do that? Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. You create obvious, designated routes and walkways. You set up a limited number of controlled entry points. You use clear signage so nobody feels lost. And you can even use simple things like landscaping or low barriers to subtly, almost subconsciously, define where people should and shouldn't go.
And here's a perfect real-world example of that in action. You can see how this design uses a bunch of different features to create one single clear pathway. It immediately tells you, hey, this is a private or semi-private space. And it guides everyone, residents, visitors, exactly where they need to go. No confusion. Let's break down the tools that make this so effective. You've got the gate, right? That's your one clear, controlled entry point. Then the fences and hedges. They restrict access from the sides, so you can't just wander in from anywhere. The walkway itself is well lit, forming a really obvious guided path. And see those short posts? Those are called bollards. They're physical barriers to keep unauthorized cars out. Every single element here has a very specific job in guiding behavior.
Okay, so that's controlling movement. Now let's move on to the next key principle, which is just as crucial. I'm talking about the power of visibility. Because here's a simple truth. If a criminal can't hide, they are way less likely to act. I mean, the contrast here is just wow. It couldn't be more stark. On the left, you basically have a criminal's best friend. Darkness, overgrown bushes that create perfect hiding spots, blocked sightlines. It's an invitation for surprise. But on the right, it's the complete opposite. You've got open sightlines, great lighting, and wide open visible spaces. There is literally nowhere to hide.
And this leads us to a really simple but incredibly profound equation. See and be seen equals safety. That's it. This whole idea is often called natural surveillance, and it's a huge cornerstone of safe design. Why? Because it basically turns an entire community into a silent, always-on security system.
So what does good visibility actually do?
Well, a few critical things. For one, it actively deters crime because offenders know the odds of being seen are way higher. It also just naturally increases everyone's awareness of what's going on around them. It promotes that natural surveillance we just talked about, the simple act of people seeing what's happening on their own street. And all of that comes together to just dramatically improve safety. All right, we've talked about controlling movement, we've talked about the power of visibility, so now let's see what happens when we put it all together. Let's look at the transformation. And here it is, the big before and after. On the left, that's where we started, uncontrolled, poorly lit, full of hidden spots. It just feels unsafe. But on the right, that's the same kind of space, totally redesigned with these principles in mind. The change is just, it's night and day. That feeling of vulnerability is totally gone, and it's replaced with a sense of order, community, and real security. So what are the key ingredients that make this transformation work so well? Well, look at the large windows. They let residents see the street. That's your natural supervision right there. You've got porches, which encourage people to actually be outside, interacting with neighbors, putting more eyes on the street. The good lighting is a no-brainer. It makes the whole area feel safe after dark. And even those low fences. They create clear property lines, which builds a sense of ownership, but they do it without walling people off from each other.
And really, when you boil it all down, the most powerful takeaway is this. Safe design isn't about building a fortress with high walls and barbed wire. It's about building a community. It's about creating an environment where people feel connected, where neighbors actually look out for each other, and where that sense of community becomes the most effective crime deterrent there is.
So here's a little challenge for you. The next time you're walking down any street, I want you to look around with these new eyes. Really notice the lighting, the pathways, the windows, and ask yourself, how is the design of this place guiding me? How is it protecting me? Because now you have the tools to see that invisible architecture of safety that's all around us.